Well, thank you all so much. I know the press has also been working around the clock on this disaster. I want to thank Mayor Whitmire for being here, for all the work. I think both of us and our teams were working through the night, and that's just so important to be able to coordinate and work together, and I'm really thrilled that you and your team are here. Thank you. I'm here also with Mark Sloan, our Chief Emergency Manager, Chief Rodney Reed from the Harris County Fire Marshal's Office, Jeff Linder, a meteorologist, Paul Locke, who's the Manager of Local Government Relations from Centerpoint, Jeff Evans from the National Weather Service, and I want to just acknowledge our commissioners. They've been working to pick up the debris, and so they're working really hard. We don't normally have them here because if we bring one, we have to bring all of them, but I do want to acknowledge them. I've been in touch with several of them overnight. Extremely, extremely hard work. In terms of what is happening, it's been a long 2 weeks. I know that a lot of people woke up this morning to see debris, to see destruction. Several people experienced the storm yesterday, and I've heard some horror stories of just terror and powerlessness. This is the second time our community's been battered in just 2 weeks. Thankfully, the areas impacted last time by the San Jacinto River, the flooding there, of course we had some street flooding in Kingwood, were not impacted by last night's event, but we are ultimately one community. Our first responders are the same first responders. And so we're gonna acknowledge how unfortunate that is, how frustrating that is, how unlikely it is, but we're also gonna keep moving forward. Last night, we were expecting some rain. The meteorologists were in touch with us. We knew something was coming, but instead we saw winds of 80 to 100 miles an hour. I asked, how did we not see that coming? And what they shared with me is this is at the peak end of an unlikely scenario to happen. So certainly, to put it gently, we got unlucky last night in terms of what ended up happening with the weather. It's rare for these kinds of things to happen. This kind of wind is something we have not seen in Harris County since Hurricane Alicia in 1983. There were strong winds in Ike. I remember, so many of us remember in 2008, but it was not like this. I was in Washington, D.C. yesterday. I was visiting with the Vice President, talking about Mental Health Month. But as soon as I heard about how bad the winds were, I luckily was able to find one seat on the plane, got in about 3 in the morning, and had a chance to work with our partners overnight. There's a lot we know, and there's a lot we don't know. So the fundamental takeaway here from me is, please give us until tomorrow, 24 hours, for more certainty. For right now, for the people who are watching this on their phone, don't know what's going to happen, don't have power, are wondering the extent of the damage, we are working as hard as we can to get that for you. We, the precincts, the state, the first responders, everybody. We know there was a tornado in Bridgeland and Cypress, which opened into really high winds into the downtown metro area, and then toward the bay. And we can see the image there that our team put together. And so that whole area with the red lines, it started up here in Bridgeland, and then it went all the way down. And so, but of course, not all of that, thankfully, is destroyed. So it's really some sort of sporadic strings of damage where you may have one home or one street and the next one over is fine. It's just the nature of this kind of thing. But that also makes it difficult for us to know exactly where the trouble areas are. We have flipped 18-wheelers. We have an 8-unit apartment shut down in Galena Park. We know there have been casualties, but we don't know the latest number, the number of injuries. I've spoken to several people who obviously are going through a hard time. We've had multiple structure fires related to the initial impacts and the continuing impacts as early as this morning. Some areas of really bad damage pretty much all along the diagonal I mentioned, that corridor of really intense damage. We do have some trees down, multiple streaks of damage, all laid out in the same direction from northwest to southeast. So here's another key message for everyone. We are going to have to talk about this disaster in weeks, not days. For some folks, the luckier ones, it might be days, not hours. For some who've had the power restored, that's wonderful. But for many, many people, it's going to be weeks and not days. At peak, we had 930,000 customers in CenterPoint's service region without power. And so most of them were in Harris County. Now we are at 740,000 customers without power. The bulk of those also in Harris County. We have had a number of transmission lines down, 7 of those are in Harris County. But of course, our region has been affected. For those without power, I want to be really direct so you can begin calibrating your expectations. If you are tied into the transmission lines that fell, those huge towers, we've seen them piled down, imagine 10 of them in a couple different places in the county. That can take weeks to restore. CenterPoint doesn't know exactly the damage or how long it will take or who is ultimately tied into those transmission lines. But there will be some people in the county that, just like in Ike, are going to have to go a couple of weeks most likely without power. CenterPoint has 2,000 mutual aid folks committed en route to restore power. They're working to secure up to 4,000 coming from all over the regions, but they have asked they won't be done assessing the damage until tomorrow and just need a whole day just to assess the facilities. In terms of what we don't know the extent of damage yet. We don't know the timeline for electricity restoration. We don't know, again, the exact number of fatalities or injuries. Our emergency operations center is getting more full by the minute, and everybody is just working with their agencies. The warning messages that were sent out, the National Weather Service, the media, we saved countless lives, and I love to know that we don't have that number because our first responders and our community took actions to take care of themselves, followed our advice, moved away from windows, moved to a lower floor, and that was probably the first time we'd ever put that into the messaging, so I appreciate that people followed those warnings. Our crews work day and night to clear debris, again, whether it be the precincts, whether it be TxDOT or others. They continue damage assessments. I'll be going next up in a helicopter with Austin Appleton, the manager of disaster recovery in our engineering department, so we can get a full picture. And, they don't know until they see it up there. I don't know until I see it from up there. But we know that there's some bad damage in some areas. 15 of our Harris County libraries, and this is some positive news, they just told us we'll be able to open today from 9 to 6 p.m. And they can be cooling centers. They will be fully staffed, so there will also be activities for the kids. I know that our school districts are out, any of the affected areas. There's computers, you can charge your phone, there's AC. I will put all those locations, we'll put that on readyharris.org as soon as we have confirmation as to exactly which ones. They're just finalizing the staffing plans, but just stay tuned for that. And they're working also to stay open at least through the weekend. We'll keep them open as long as possible. What we found in the past is folks do visit the cooling centers during the day. Once school is in again, that'll be great. People can go back to work as well. And then at night, folks just prefer to stay at their homes, even though it's pretty hot, but with a fan and just light covering. We're coordinating with partners, hospitals, the Red Cross, fire departments for damage assessments, welfare checks on medically fragile individuals. We're responsible for Harris County. The various cities are responsible for theirs. So CenterPoint, again, has dispatched crews from across the region, and we're in touch with lifeline sectors: water, food, fuel. Some are offline. We are taking stock of the various grocery stores. Some are only being able to offer non-perishable canned goods, but that's great. It's food. They know how vital they are to our community, and that will be a situation that's very fluid as these grocery stores come back online. They're also working very hard to be as fast as possible, and I don't think we can even keep up with that on Ready Harris. We just need folks to watch the news. And in terms of, there have been some telecommunication towers impacted. I know that folks had a little bit of a hard time with the phones, and that's why, but they are absolutely addressing that. Debris has been cleared from the freeways. There is still debris in neighborhoods, and so we do have a couple recommendations there. We're also working with the Red Cross. So here's what folks should know. Folks should do. If you have an elderly neighbor, somebody who lives alone, who might be medically fragile, check in on them. Most importantly, we need your help with life safety. It's dangerous to be moving around on the streets right now. Some folks have said, I want to go out, get a hotel right now. It's not going to be that hot today. It's not going to be that humid the way it's going to be the next couple of days. And we don't want you to put yourself in danger. So if there's debris on your street, just be really careful and help pick up the smaller debris. If you've never used a chainsaw before, this is not the day to start. If you're using a generator, please remember not to bring it inside, because those fumes from the carbon monoxide, they always end up being a problem. Don't put it under an awning. That all will be an issue. If it's large debris, the best thing you can do is call 311 anywhere in the county. They will route you to the relevant group. Folks that are traveling through the interstates, the major highways, those folks are out and about, but once you exit those interstates and you go into the neighborhood, watch for those tree limbs, power lines, grass, debris. So in the next 12 hours, it's still a public safety situation because of the debris, and we really want folks to keep that in mind. If you smell gas, the first thing you should do is get out. And after that, report the gas leak by calling CenterPoint. You can find the number online, and it's 1-800-752-8036. 1-800-752-8036. For folks without power, we have several folks here in the Operations Center who lost power during Hurricane Ike, and it's uncomfortable. It's sticky, but we'll get through it. The worst thing that will happen if we all do our part is there will be some discomfort, but we can definitely get through this together. The good news on the weather today is going to be pretty mild. The school districts are closed. The water is safe to drink. We don't have any updates on or any news of boil water notices, which we will keep watch on. Patience is the name of the game. Life safety first, and then patience with first responders, patience with our crews, patience with your neighbors, patience on road closures. Everybody, all of us here, all of us upstairs, everybody involved is working around the clock, and we're working as fast as we possibly can. We can't do it any faster. We're currently activated at level 1, maximum readiness, and I just signed a disaster declaration earlier this morning so that we can get any additional resources that we need with particular urgency. We'll post updates on readyharris.org as we have them. To conclude, just an update on our state and federal partners. The state is here. They've been here all night. I was chatting to the representative around 3:30 in the morning last night. They're always very supportive during emergencies. And they have put Harris County on the list of counties that would like to receive individual assistance, individual grants for the flooding a couple weeks ago. The White House has reached out to our government affairs team. Our ask for the administration right now that I will pass along the moment I connect with the administration is, we are asking for individual assistance. And folks will remember I used to say, well, it's unlikely we'll get it because we didn't have enough impacts to receive individual assistance with the flooding. Well, we are requesting that the flooding be combined with this disaster. This is not unprecedented in terms of if we have two disasters back to back. They're connected, they're combined. At that point, we will certainly have enough affected individuals, and there's no reason we shouldn't get individual assistance. And so those are grants, and we would still also receive the low interest loans from the Small Business Administration. So I'm grateful state has included us in the request for presidential disaster declaration. We expect the federal government will place utmost attention on Governor Abbott's request to receive resources from federal partners as quickly as possible. If we need anything, we'll tell the state, they'll tell the federal government. But if the federal government supports us the way we hope they will, then residents affected by both disasters will be able to receive direct grants and also the loans. We're going to do everything to keep you informed as soon as we have information. I don't want to provide information that I am not certain about. We will give you the best advice that we have. And in turn, we ask that you do your part in recognizing that this is the long game, that we're okay. We have had some casualties. We need to be careful on our roads. But right now, the winds have passed, and we need to take a beat, take a breath, and just be part of this response and recovery. The next few days are going to be hard. The next few weeks are going to be hard for some folks in our community. They're going to be uncomfortable. But we've been through this. Our first responders have been